Okay, we good? Okay. All right. Oh, sorry. All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to ask that you take your seats and we're going to get started. Apologies for being late, but we hadn't achieved quorum, so we needed to wait a few minutes. But again, if everyone can take their seats. Christine, if you guys can, please. Thank you. All right. Welcome to, November. My notes across the board tonight said October, and maybe it's just wishful thinking that I would prefer to be back in time. But welcome to the November full board meeting for Manhattan Community Board 4. I'm Jessica Chait, chair of the board, and I call this meeting to order. I'm sure, like me, many of you are exhausted following last night's election, and whatever your thoughts are on the results, they don't keep us from doing the important work of the board on behalf of the community. I'd say many people are exhausted by the turnout of tonight's meeting. It seems unusually light, but thank you all to those who came out and are joining us online. Just a few matters of standard business. As you all know, MCB4 has a hybrid meeting policy that can be found on our website. Board members are expected to attend meetings in person unless they have a disability and/or an extraordinary circumstance. Excused committee members and members of the public will still be able to participate virtually. Board members who are joining via Zoom must leave their cameras on. This meeting is streamed live on our YouTube channel, and a transcript is being recorded, and the meeting will live on YouTube channel and is accessible by the public. As a reminder to all, our public session sign up is made available before the meeting. For those joining us today and who want to speak, you must raise your hand virtually if you're online by 6:45, or the sign up sheet is in the back. Similarly, we ask that you sign up by, tonight we'll call it 6:50 since we're starting a little bit late, but at 6:50 we will collect the sign up sheets. This is as part of our effort to always be welcoming and hear from all members of the community, but we also need to be fair and consistent. And that is why we set this timed sign up and have put that policy in place. Tonight and going forward, we ask everyone, including electeds and their reps, to please try to limit their comments to 2 minutes so we can get to our important board business. This evening, we have, we've been generously our 2 representatives who sit on our board, but happen to also have leadership positions in both Midtown North and Midtown South precincts, have generously offered to share some updates at the top of tonight's meeting. And I just want to preface this briefly by saying this is something we hope to be able to do in an ongoing fashion, as you'll hear in a little bit about our budget process and some of the findings from the survey that we do. And also just in conversation with the board, I'll speak a little bit more about board engagement efforts later in the meeting. But the issues of public safety are consistent and they come up frequently. And we want to make sure that we're doing a good job of educating our board members and the community about the structures that are currently in place to address those issues. And Midtown North and South precincts are right here, like physically, we are very close to them right now. And so we felt it was good to start there. In the future, we'll bring the 10th and the 13th precinct as well, or representatives who work with them. And over the next coming months, we'll be looking at how do we make sure that we have appropriate coverage and avenues for addressing additional or existing matters of public safety that don't feel like they're being addressed through the precinct council meetings. So with that, I'm delighted to call up, I don't know if you guys said who you'd want to start with. Dolores, okay. Dolores, former chair of the board, and Brian Weber.
Hey, everybody. I'm going to echo Jessica's thoughts. Despite the outcome, there's still work to be done on a local level. And that is one of the things that both Brian and I are going to highlight. Like this community board, it is very important to continue to be active around the concerns that we have within our community to better serve as beacons of the world we want to live in. And speaking of public safety, I just wanted to point out what's very interesting is that we on this board, we don't talk about a lot of public safety issues in general. We are very lucky. We live in a great neighborhood. However, that's not the case for all of New York. But speaking specifically to what a community council is, it's not something new. NYPD is the only agency in the city that is required to speak to the public on a regular basis, and that's usually a monthly basis. That, like the community board, gives an opportunity for people to speak directly to NYPD to understand what they're doing and what is going on in their community. But it also gives an opportunity for NYPD here to hear directly back from the community on the concerns and the issues that they feel are important to them. As I mentioned, it's not new. Police precinct councils have been around since the 40s. Yep, and every single police command has a police precinct council. Who runs the police precinct councils? It's actually community members. It's not NYPD, which means any person who wants to go to these meetings, they're open. They're available to participate in. You don't have to sign up for it. And it is a great way to engage and understand exactly what is happening public safety wise. So just to let you know what Midtown North, which is what I represent, I'm the president of the Midtown North Police Precinct Council. That area, that catchment area is right here, 59th Street to roughly, we'll call it 44th Street with a couple of carve outs. It spans from the Hudson River to Lexington. So that means the communities that that precinct serves includes our Hell's Kitchen area, the Theater District, Rockefeller Center, the Fifth Avenue corridor around St. Patrick's Cathedral. And so we're talking about a lot of areas that don't have a lot of residential life. So that precinct is covering all of that area. What do we normally hear about at Midtown North? Over the last few years, in no particular order, a lot of the issues that have been coming up at police precinct council meetings have been open drug use, drug dealing, homeless encampments, illegal mopeds and bikes on sidewalks. Additionally, some concerns about petty theft of packages, et cetera. And one of the things that I think that most people have to understand is what is the engagement of NYPD. Not only are they there in the meeting to listen, but they're also providing the stats of what they're seeing, the trends that are happening, and most importantly, what they are doing to respond to some of those community concerns. While I mentioned at the onset, we're very lucky to live in a very good community. A majority of the issues that we do here at our police precinct council meetings are more quality of life related, and some of them are things that NYPD cannot service. However, just like this community board, there are opportunities in those meetings to direct people to where they can get that help. Also, think of the police structure as almost the commander who's actually at all these meetings, but then also there's the community affairs. And if you want to think of what the community affairs are, they're like our Jesse Bodine. They're the person who connects the community with all of the resources, all the agencies, and all of the folks that can solve the problems. So I gave you all of that background before I pass it over to Brian to talk about Midtown South's concerns, mainly because I just wanted to reiterate that while we don't have a specific public safety committee here on this board, there is a body that meets on a monthly basis for all of the precincts in the entire city where you can get that information, provide the information that you have, and work towards solving the problems.
Thank you, Dolores, and thank you for covering pretty much everything I'd had to say. But just so everyone knows, I'm Brian Weber. I am the serving president of the Midtown South Precinct Community Council. Our precinct service area, that would be our catchment area, extends from 29th to 45th Street, Lexington to 9th Avenue. There are some cutouts on the far east side by Lexington, but the portion of the Midtown South Precinct that covers CB4 is a section between 29th and 45th, 8th to 9th Avenue, which also happens to be where we have a concentration of residential and a concentration of participants, not just residential, but building managers and businesses and the community in general. Midtown South covers the 3 transit hubs: Port Authority Bus Terminal, Penn Station, Grand Central, we have Herald Square, we have Bryant Park, we have the portion of Times Square. So it's a very active precinct. In fact, I think it is one of the most active precincts. As Dolores said, the precinct council meetings are monthly meetings that are essentially public forums. It's an opportunity for the public to come and speak directly with the NYPD, specifically about ongoing chronic concerns within the precinct service area, whether that be public safety or quality of life or conditions issues. The big overriding issue in the Midtown South community is narcotic activity. Year to date, there have been approximately 1,350 arrests for narcotic activity alone. And that's it, and a little bit of is for usage. To give some perspective, that those up about 28% from last year. And last year was up 28%. Work being done on the narcotic activity. The precinct is partnered very closely with the district attorney's office and the special narcotics prosecutor of New York to address these issues. But the chronic ongoing complaint that we get from the community in meeting after and in sector meetings, which we'll get to next, is the drug use that people are seeing and witnessing on the street daily. It's excessive and it presents public health concerns and danger concerns. One thing that Dolores tapped on is that there is only so much that is under the purview of the NYPD. And going to these meetings, you get a better sense of what the NYPD can address and cannot address. But the NYPD does not operate in a silo. It partners with other city agencies to many of these issues. So scaffolding always comes up is the act that's occurring under the scaffolding. Well, they'll reach out to the Department of Buildings regarding specific areas or the Department of Transportation to see if there's anything that can be done to physically alleviate some of the conditions there that will help alleviate some of the other conditions that are under their preview. One of the biggest partnerships, of course, in this area is with the Department of Social Services. The NYPD has partnered with the Department of Mental Health and Hygiene and the Department of Homeless Services over the summer to do a joint operation along the 8th Avenue corridor. And that extended down into the 10th precinct through Midtown South and up into Midtown North. Yesterday, Monday, long week already, we heard from the Department of Homeless Service, which had indicated that during this operation, they had found shelter and housing for 74 individuals, which is a pretty decent number. I don't know out of how many, but that's a good number. In addition, in Times Square, the work that they've been doing, there was an additional 46 individuals that they have placed in shelter or housing. So there's a lot of work that is being done, but the conditions still present itself. One last thing I'd like to say is that our meetings are on Zoom just so we can get broader with the community. We're the 4th Tuesday of every month. It's open to the public. Everyone's welcome to attend. But in addition to that, there are quarterly sector meetings. Every precinct is divvied up into sectors. And in fact, tomorrow in Midtown South, there's a Sector D meeting. Sector D covers 29th to 34th Street, 5th to 9th Avenue. So a good chunk of that is between 8th and 9th and CB4. And that's at noon tomorrow. The Garment District Alliance is hosting it at their offices, which is at 209 West 38th Street. And I've already conscripted Max to at that meeting. So happy to answer any questions, and we hope to see the community engaged on a regular basis so you can hear and get a better understanding of public safety and conditions concerns throughout our district.
Thank you, Brian. So we are gonna, if there are questions, we'll take just a couple of minutes, but you know how to find these folks. So Roberta.
So I did want to ask both Brian and Dolores if there are email lists, websites, or resources where people should be looking if they do want to get more involved or find information.
Yep, nyc.gov is your avenue to almost everything, including us. So if you look up NYPD through that, you can find information on how to sign up for almost every single police precinct council directly from that website.
Also, I know that both CB4 and CB5 usually puts the invite in their newsletter. So there's usually a link there. And if you're not already on my mailing list and you'd like to be, I run the mailing list for CB4. Happy to add anybody who's interested.
Ditto, but since we're a public meeting on YouTube, I'm not giving my email address out loud. Those of you who have it, have it.
Thank you. A question.
Hi, I'm wondering what suggestions you may have, because, we hear from our community members that one of the biggest issues, what we heard about this from the survey is that public safety and quality of life are one of the biggest challenges here for our community members. And our meetings are supposed to be sources of information, or we bring in people to address the issues of our community members. But we don't, as Jessica mentioned earlier, we don't have a committee where we are bringing in, or where we're specifically talking about safety issues. So I'm just wondering, other than saying, oh, if you have this concern, community member, go to this meeting or go to this other source, don't come talk to us about it. I'm wondering what suggestions you have about how we here can help address these very important issues of our community on a more regular basis.
I'm going to let you respond. I'm going to let Dolores respond. I just want to note also, though, that part of bringing them here today and kind of this ongoing spotlight that we're going to do over the next few months is to highlight other ways that we are doing that and can do that more. But I, of course, want to hear.
So most importantly, I want to highlight what Brian had said is that NYPD and the purpose of the police precinct council meetings is to hear from the public and try to solve for those problems. And even if it's not specifically an NYPD problem, they do liaise with other agencies. One of those other agencies that they liaise with on a regular basis happens to be the community boards. And for those of you that are new and may not know, and Jesse may talk about this in his manager's report, but there's a district cabinet meeting, which NYPD's community affairs teams from all the precincts in our area do participate in. And that is a way that, at least when we are hearing about concerns that are brought up at our meetings, whether it's a committee meeting or the full board meeting, Jesse is actually streamlining the process and trying to solve for that, which is very important. In terms of an open discussion, et cetera, we have had, as you know, from Housing, Health, and Human Services, that where we've had discussions that have come up for committee meetings. So it's not in a vacuum. It's more to say that there is a very specific venue for speaking directly to an agency. And there are no other agencies that open themselves up to speaking to the public directly, but they do work in partnership with all their other agencies, including our agency being the community board.
Yeah, I also just want to note that the community engagement has been really vital in getting resources that are much needed in this area. The district attorney's office is routinely at these meetings, and it's because of the community's outcry about conditions and the need for help that they've been supportive with the mayor's office in creating an interagency task force in the Midtown area. It was also instrumental in getting additional officers and resources during, the summer all out, which this community traditionally did not get. So it's essential that, as much as we answer things here in committees and community boards, it's really important to get people to precinct meetings, because it's so much better when the commanding officer hears from people who are experiencing things day to day than having it translated by me to them or by Jesse, who's great at this, to the precinct. The other thing to note is that the community affairs team is always available to the public. So independent of the meeting, between those meetings, if there is an issue, if there's a chronic issue, please, reach out to the precinct community councils. They'll put you in touch immediately with community affairs, who are very responsive and take it very seriously. So it's not like you have to wait until the end of the month for a meeting.
All right, thank you guys. And as they said, you know where to find them. Dolores, Brian, thank you. That one up there. Appreciate you taking the time. And just, I want to clarify that this is in addition to this is not a position, a function of their board position. This is in addition to their board position and activities, and want to thank them for bringing that information back here tonight. And that's also something that we can continue to look at, is what is that? How do we knit together the work of the precinct councils and the work of the board? Moving on to our next item, over the last 6 weeks, maybe a little bit longer, we've begun our budget process, which includes our statement of district needs and budget requests. We'll be voting on this letter later, but tonight we have a public hearing, and I'll invite Roberta Barnett, our second vice chair, to come up and conduct the hearing.
Good evening. Are there any speakers for this hearing on the statement of district needs? I didn't think so. So Miriam, if you can unmute, we can give you, I believe, 2 minutes to speak on the statement of district needs.
I'd like to address the previous one. I had my hand up, but I'm home and I guess you didn't see. The meetings with the police department are on Zoom in these districts. In my district, I've been asking for that for months, and they're only
Miriam?
in person.
I apologize. Yes, this is currently a hearing on the statement of district needs, our budget process. Would you
I
like
know,
to?
I'm saying that my hand was up to comment previously, and I wanted to get that in because it's been very frustrating to me where I haven't been able to go to meetings. And I heard that the other districts have them on Zoom. So I just was very concerned. I did have my hand up, and now we went on to another
Sorry.
topic, but that was an issue that was of concern to me that I wanted
Miriam,
to comment on.
it's Jessica. We'll follow up with you separately to see what, I don't know if those meetings are on Zoom, but we'll follow up separately with you to see if we can get you access to those meetings.
Okay, in terms of the district, I did want to get clarity on where they'll take place. Had a request in that I think that Christine and Jesse Greenwald put on the list, but when I was brought this up at a previous meeting, I was told that was relevant only to the transportation committee. It's not on the agenda for that meeting, so I'm just a little confused because I had some things I wanted to address with that. I'm just trying to get clarity.
Just one, I think you're speaking about bus stops.
Yeah.
Yeah, the agenda was very full, but we'll put it on the following agenda. It's a commitment.
And when will
Okay.
that be discussed? And I had some things that I wanted to add.
In December, at the Transportation Committee of December.
Okay,
Okay.
it's not on the
Right.
agenda, so I was a little confused
No,
about
it's
that.
not on the agenda of November, but it will be on December.
Okay, all right. That's all I wanted was clarity.
So there, you don't have any comments on the statement of district needs. Is that clear? Is that correct?
My request, I think, is on the list, the way I
so I think
understand it.
okay, great. So we're going to go ahead and close this hearing. Thank you, Roberta. And you're doing your presentation later. Okay, great. Okay, with that, I'll call on Leslie, our first vice chair, to get us started on our public session.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes. We don't have that many, but Jesse, like we were discussing, I think we're going to start today with our public session from the people online. And as usual, everyone who has signed up, as Jessica said, either in the room or on, will get 2 minutes to speak on their choice of topic. Jesse, I have 4 people, maybe Mike Noble, Riza Rogova, Emily Lee. Those are the first 3. Are they online? Are they there?
Yep.
Okay. Mike, I'm just going to set the timer. Can you hear me, Mike?
Yes.
And Mike is a community board member, so we will give you first crack. Your time starts now.
Great, thanks a lot. Well, my name is Mike Noble, and I am a member, but I'm speaking for myself tonight. The NYCHA Board of Directors, at its meeting on October 30th, approved a master development agreement with the PAC partners Essence Development and the related companies for the redevelopment of the Fulton and Elliott Chelsea houses. The board also approved the submission of applications to HUD for the replacement of all existing buildings on both campuses. The provisions of the agreement provide for a mixed income, mixed use community that provides new permanently affordable apartments for everyone who's a resident of Fulton and Elliott Chelsea. The existing dilapidated buildings will be gone and new management will be in place with adequate funding and the wherewithal to maintain the new developments. So this is the important part that I wanted to let you know about. The board meeting is on the YouTube channel of NYCHA, where the presentation that was made to the board can be viewed, right? It begins 56 minutes into the video. And I hope all of you will take the time to watch it because it provides answers to many of your ongoing questions. The presentation includes a timeline for the phased completion of the project, and most importantly, details of the new way backlogged and future maintenance work orders will be handled by NYCHA and the PAC partners. And that is basically what I have to tell you. It's been 5 years. And we're thrilled that this has gotten to this great milestone that we're at now. And I hope that all of us can work together to make this thing happen. All right. If you look at the video, you're going to see mention of the environmental review, the ULURP process, and the fact that these replacement buildings at both campuses are as of right developments. Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Next, is Emily on, you said, Jesse? Great. Emily, can you hear me here in the room?
Yes.
Great. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Emily, and I'm a project coordinator for Korean Community Services. As someone who works closely with Asian Americans impacted by diet-related diseases, I want to bring your attention to some alarming statistics about the health of our city's children. Nearly 40% of public school children in New York City are overweight and obese, and one person dies around every 90 minutes from diabetes-related causes in our city. Poor nutrition and poor diets full of sugary drinks and high-calorie meals are driving this health crisis. Junk food marketing specifically targets children and people of color, particularly in Black and Latino communities, where many New York City fast food chains are concentrated there. About 1 in 5 children citywide eat at fast food chains more than once a week, and they are less likely to meet fruit and vegetable nutrition guidelines. 18% of US children's calorie intake also comes from fast foods. Many food establishments within New York City offer foods and drinks that often exceed the daily sugar limit of 50 grams, which makes it nearly impossible to maintain a healthy diet. All of this is contributing to a rise in childhood obesity, type 2 diabetes, and diet-related diseases like high blood pressure and heart disease. New York City Council member Kevin C. Riley has proposed Intro 0641, which will require New York City restaurants to offer at least 2 healthier meal options on children's menus and remove flavored milk as a beverage. Our children's health is in crisis, and it's time we take action to improve their nutrition. I encourage everyone here to reach out to their elected officials like Councilmember Gail Brewer to sign on as a co-sponsor for Intro 641 and educate them about the nutritional health benefits children will receive if this bill passes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. Thank you. Next, we have Jason Ginsburg. Jason, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, great. Okay, your 2 minutes starts now.
Yeah, I was invited here by Charlie Todd to give kind of a success story. I live on 58th and 9th, and there for about a year, Fresh Direct began using the left lane as their staging area and would not necessarily out of the engine, but have the refrigeration unit on the entire time. from 3 p.m. to 8 or 9 p.m. virtually every day of the week except Sunday. This went on for weeks. I contacted Fresh Direct both by phone and by chat and by email. Their initial level of customer service was very nice and forwarded all my complaints, which did nothing. I ended up being put in touch with a manager by phone, spoke to him twice by phone. And again, I got all these a litany of things that they deal with the police and city council and how they change their staging areas every 3 months. Of course, 3 months go by, 6 months go by, 9 months go by, nothing has changed. I tried various 311 complaints, noise pollution, air pollution, anti-idling regulations. They're also actually right next to what I'm above, Bright Horizons daycare and school. At 3 p.m. they are in session, so the children and teachers are being affected by this sort of low drone that does not stop for 5 hours. What finally did it was working with Charlie Todd and other people on the board. I did reach out to both districts I'm in city council as districts changed. I dealt with 2 different council members, including Gail Brewer and Jesse Bodine here in this group. And what eventually did it was the city bike station that upstream from us, north of 59th Street, that pushed the Uber drivers down to the lane that the Fresh Direct truck used to use, and Fresh Direct was forced to move. And so they've not been back since, after basically a full year of never moving. As far as I can tell, the city bike is what did it, because my complaints have fallen on deaf ears. I've had a city council and this board reaching out on my behalf with no real results. So it's a success story.
Great. Thank you, Jason, for that feel-good story. It is, right? Thank you, Jason. And just so you know, he's referencing Charlie Todd, who is a public member on the Transportation Committee now. Next, I believe we have, and you said Riza is not here, Jesse, you don't see? Okay, I think the last person I have on the online list is Lisa Wager. I see Lisa. Can you hear me, Lisa?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yep, now I can. Okay, go ahead. Minute starts now.
Hello, I'm Lisa Wager, Director of Government Community Relations at the Fashion Institute of Technology, the SUNY College on West 27th Street with the Residence Hall on 31st off 9th in the district. I'm here to share a few updates. But before I do, I'd just like to note that FIT would like to be involved. I'd like to be involved in the Blaze Up Community Stakeholder Conference. Okay, I get another 10 seconds. I'd like to note that FIT would like to be involved in the Blazing Up community stakeholder conversations when those occur. Thank you. Okay, there will be a free screening of the feature film Between the Temples, which the Times called a soulful, delightfully tetchy comedy, next week on Tuesday, November 12th at 5:30 in the Katie Murphy Amphitheater. The film stars Jason Schwartzman and Carol Kane, and a Q&A with director Nathan Silver will follow. Temples is currently screening at Lincoln Center, but you can see it at FIT and for no charge. Go to fitnyc.edu to register in advance. An exhibition, Lighted Earth, opens in the A&D Gallery, that's the glass box on the corner of 27th and 7th, on Thursday, and it runs through December 1st. The gallery is open from 9 to 5 daily. Lighted Earth is a collaboration between FIT graphic design BFA students and jewelry design students at the Institute of American Indian Arts in Santa Fe. The exhibition features student projects from IAIA's jewelry class shown alongside a documentary film that includes student interviews plus insights from the IAIA jewelry design faculty on the internationally renowned collection of Native American arts, which is housed at the Institute. FIT graphic design students developed the identity and the interpretive materials for the exhibition. So I didn't quite know what that meant, so I looked at what the course does. This is a brief description of the FIT graphic design BFA program. Students hone a personal voice that requires critical thinking, social awareness, and the ability to communicate across an array of platforms. Topics of study include editorial design, interactive web design, experiential design, which is exhibitions and signs, and kinetic typography, along with advanced typography, corporate identity systems, motion graphics, and art history. Students also participate in industry-sponsored competitions and gain experience through a required internship. This is undergrad. The program concludes with a senior thesis project and a jury design exhibition. Students graduate from their undergrad with a portfolio to present to potential employers.
Thank you, Lisa.
We're proud to be public.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I gave you the extra 10.
Thank you.
Of course. Jesse, I think that's all for online, right? Okay, so we only have 3 people in the room. If you can come up, Alexa and Renee. Is Renee here? She's signed up. Oh, there you are. You're behind. Okay, I didn't see. Go ahead, Alexa. You can go first. Actually, you know what? Why don't we try this one?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alexa, and I'll always say Safe Section 9. And I see Brad here. Hello. I know that I went to a rally by Nadler's building, and we presented the HR 307 for NYCHA. And it's a bill from Nydia Velasquez, and Nadler had approved it on Twitter. And now I see that the elected officials is going forward with the demolition and the PAT, you know, and I don't understand how my voice is not heard as a tenant, you know, and I think I tried speaking to you one time about it, and I'm not getting any answers from the elected officials. And I'm not getting any answers anywhere. And I feel that I have no rights, and that is unfair. Thank you. And the board, we had a board meeting with NYCHA, and the gentleman said that they made the decisions on the essence related. It's not a victory because the chairman from NYCHA said that it was going to take a long time before anything happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alexa. Renee? All yours for 2 minutes. Go. You have the handheld? It should be. Yeah.
The Special Application Center, not the NYCHA Board, approves disposition or demolition. The proposed Fulton Master Development Agreement is being touted as a pioneering model for New York City. Yet after a year and a half of assurances that it's a done deal, the lack of a finalized plan and continuous back and forth statements from leadership raise serious concerns. The inconsistency and incomplete paperwork should signal a major red flag in these proceedings. The changing of plans, depending on the pushback, should be added to this. The residents of Fulton and Elliott Chelsea have made their stance clear, with 939 signatures on a petition opposing the demolition of our homes. NYCHA was originally created as a true community, with open spaces designed for interaction and safe play areas for children. Jonathan Gavai's recent claim that NYCHA can create a community for the first time disregards the fact that NYCHA developments were designed with community in mind from the beginning. Moreover, NYCHA's promise that all tenants will be relocated within vacant units on Fulton and Elliott Chelsea's campus has shifted in recent statements. Gavai suggested that tenants will be moved to right-sized private apartments within the campus or apartments managed by the PAC partner, raises questions about affordability and the impact on the broader housing crisis. If these didn't work, tenants will be moved to existing apartments within NYCHA, not just NYCHA within Fulton and Elliott Chelsea, but all throughout NYCHA. Needless to say that a statement in Exec was incorrect. They are only after one thing. They're not here no matter what. They're here for the demolition. My suggestion is that you get the presentation of FEC presentation that is on the NYCHA board, and you will see that. It is only one thing: demolition. Ultimately, this is more than displacement. It's about preserving the integrity and the stability of our communities. The ongoing contradictions from officials undermine trust and suggest that these plans will not be in the best interest of the residents. My suggestion, very strongly, is that you find out what's really going on and stop coming to us and telling us one thing, and then within 2 days of that, we're hearing something else.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we are going to end off with another board member, Jesse. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jesse Greenwald, the co-chair of the Transportation Committee, but speaking in my personal capacity. In the wake of a difficult and frightening national election, Many of us are left grappling with feelings of uncertainty and fear for the future. But I'm speaking in public session to remind us of something incredibly powerful. We have each other. We are a community board. And what is our community? It's a network of support, compassion, and strength. And right now, more than ever, it is that very community that can help hold our ground and move forward. Why do we come here? Why do we spend these countless hours arguing over the placement of planters on street corners, the width of a bike lane, whether our local dive should be open till 1 a.m. on a Thursday, or housing redevelopment? Because we care about our neighbors. We connect with our neighbors. We offer a helping hand and build the kind of relationship that make our days brighter. So now more than ever, it's essential that we stand united to make sure that the most vulnerable of our neighbors, our elderly neighbors, our youngest neighbors, our trans neighbors, our migrant neighbors, are heard from, seen, and protected. But I want to stress, we are incredibly fortunate to live in a neighborhood and a city that prioritizes respect, compassion, empathy, and tolerance. These aren't just words, they are the bedrock of how we live and how we care for one another. In a world that can feel divisive and cold, we have built something special here. A community where people look out for each other, where we offer a helping hand, and where we say, you are not alone. Thank you.
Do you know why we ended up with that one, right? Why we ended up with Jesse. But here ends the public speaking session, Jessica.
Thank you. So with that, we'll return to our business of the evening, and you all have a copy of the agenda. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda? Thank you. Second, thank you. And we have the minutes. Thank you again to Katie Stokes and Alice Wong for the minutes. Can we get a motion to adopt the minutes? Thank you, Kevin. Second, Christine. Thank you. At this point, we'll be moving to
about
hear
the
from our
vote?
elected.
We've got to vote.
Sorry, all in favor? Thank you. Thank you. Any
Aye.
opposed? Thank you. Any abstaining? No. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mike. At this point, we will hear from our elected officials. We do ask that you limit your comments so we can move to the business, but obviously a lot has happened. We're very grateful to have State Senator Brad Hoylman-Siegel here joining us and want to offer our congratulations to him on the ballot yesterday and a win we can feel good about. So thank you. Thank you, Senator. Great to have you.
Thank you very much. Good to see everyone. Yes, I know we're all somewhat bleary-eyed from last evening. I will say that I'm grateful to have and honored to have been reelected with over 105,000 votes, 84% of the 47th Senate District, and the most votes of any Democratic senator who ran for reelection last night. So thank you. That's because of this amazing district, which we represent, and they turn out as you all do. And thank you, Jesse, for those words, which I heartily endorse. We've been through this before. We've been through a Trump administration before. We've been through a Republican Senate and a Republican-controlled House before. And so we have a playbook for it. And we're already talking with colleagues in Albany about how to execute that. First on the list, I think, is really making certain that we flip the switch on congestion. We cannot let this crucial funding disappear because, frankly, we do not have $16.5 billion in Albany to fund MTA capital projects. And we all know that the MTA is the lifeblood of this city. I also wanted to mention a couple of other things, which is a letter that my colleagues and I sent out on Route 9A. We helped to lead a letter signed by our colleagues up and down the Hudson River, urging that the state DOT take heed our call for improvements on Route 9A as they study that very important highway, improve pedestrian safety at crossings, expanded bike and protected bike lanes, additional transit opportunities, including a buses, and an investment in climate and storm resiliency. You may know that the east side has a storm resiliency plan in place. We do not have that on the west side. The corridor along the Hudson River, whether the Hudson River Park or the Hudson River Greenway, is one of our greatest assets in our neighborhoods, and we have to make sure that it remains safe, efficient, and just an awesome place to spend time. Third, I wanted to mention my legislation called a Glock switch bill measure. In October, the governor signed what is a first in the nation bill that's going to require gun manufacturers like Glock to make certain that their devices aren't compatible with machine gun conversion devices. The truth is, for a little as $50, you can buy a device that turns an ordinary pistol, semi-automatic handgun, into a machine gun. This legislation will change that, we hope, by requiring gun manufacturers to take reasonable steps or face legal consequences for their design defects. Glock has known about this design defect for 50 years and has done nothing to change their product. And much like cigarette manufacturers, they should be held liable for that. So we're going to make certain that the Attorney General has the power to go after Glock. And I appreciate the comments from tenants on Fulton Elliott, Chelsea, and the redevelopment project. It is true, last October 30th, the Board of NYCHA voted to approve the agreement to proceed with the redevelopment of the campuses. Let's be clear. This is more urgent than ever now that we are likely to have not just a Republican Senate and a Republican federal administration, but also potentially a Republican-controlled House of Representatives. There is no money for NYCHA. And the costs to repair the NYCHA campuses were estimated to be $40 billion in 2020. That has since skyrocketed to $78 billion as of 2023. I would like nothing more than to come up with that funding, either at the state or the federal level. But I'm also fighting, as you know, for a number of other improvements, including congestion pricing. So we have to come up with innovative solutions to change these subhuman conditions in our public housing. So we'll continue to do that, work with tenants, and make certain that they're protected in every way possible. That is my North Star in this effort. And then finally, I want to thank Community Board for organizing the press event at the 23rd Street corridor to demand improved accessibility and elevators. I think we're all pleased that the MTA has included the 23rd Street 1 station at 23rd and 7th in their upcoming capital plan to receive elevators and accessibility upgrades. But there are obviously more stations that require elevators, such as at 23rd and 8th, which we will continue to advocate for. We were part of a capital plan briefing, and we're going to get the MTA more information about the population and demographic changes that demand greater accessibility at these locations. Thank you very much.
Careful. All right, thank you. We're going to go now online. We have Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you all virtually. I'm here in my office watching the proceedings. So first of all, I'd like to thank everyone who voted for me, and for those who didn't. I got the most votes of any assembly candidate in Manhattan, including those who were opposed and those who were unopposed. So I'm very grateful to have such an active and supportive district. Today was a grim day, a blow to democracy, a blow to human rights. And there's no way to sugarcoat what happened last night. And the consequences are undoubtedly grave. One area of deep concern is Trump's plan to create a national abortion database. I have a bill, the New York Privacy Act, that has become more urgent than ever as a result. My legislation would protect the privacy of our sensitive health data, because if you download an app and put all your information on that app, let's say a period tracker, it is not protected by HIPAA. So it's not far-fetched to imagine that this information, which is sold, sent around, could be used by a Trump administration for a database. And so we have to protect people who travel here for reproductive health care, protect people whose private health information should remain so, because most people don't know that these apps are not covered by HIPAA protections. So that's going to be one of the first things on my agenda. They also, Project 2025 talked about abolishing HUD, and that would completely devastate the city's most vulnerable tenants, those who depend on Section 8 and other kinds of subsidies to stay and live in their homes in New York City. So the bill I've had for a few years, the Housing Access Voucher Program that would establish a Section 8 type program in New York State, is even more important than ever, and it is supported by the widest range of housing interests there is, and we'll be working hard on that as well. We have to keep fighting. We have to protect the rights that we have, and so that's my mission. Everyone has battled for: civil rights, LGBTQ plus rights, all the rights. We have to preserve. And thankfully, Prop 1 worked out. We've now enshrined in our Constitution the right to abortion, the right to not face discrimination based on age or disability or gender identity expression. And so we have to just buckle down and keep fighting. I wrote to the DOT regarding Pier 94, supporting CB4's letter regarding the pedestrian hazard near Pier 94. Because of the construction on the pier, the current configuration has people walking across 9 lanes of traffic to get to the pier, which is not safe. And I urge the New York State DOT to come to a resolution, because we can't wait till there's a crash or somebody's killed because of that situation. I know New York State DOT and CB4 are reviewing plans, but happy to be involved to support all your great efforts. Ryan Chelsea Clinton Center is under severe strain, as are other FQHCs across the city. And I'm working with a coalition representing all of them to see how we can get better reimbursement rates for Ryan throughout the city, and other similar kinds of indispensable clinics that treat the poorest among us, and we have to get better funding for them. I did give them $25,000 in funding for their programming needs, so that'll help. 60-day eviction notices, we've heard about that. I've written to the mayor about the problem with picking kids up and transferring them to other boroughs where they can't come back here to school. The mayor said he's going to discuss with Trump the migrant situation. We'll see what happens, but we have to keep our eye on everything here, because Donald has said he wants to deport them all, put them in camps. Hopefully not. We got to realize everyone's humanity here and not be bowled over by some kind of fascistic statements. Lastly, Shred Day, one of our favorite days, Wednesday, November 13th, between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. in front of my district office at 72nd between Broadway and West End. I'll have a shred truck. Hopefully not all our hopes and dreams have been shred, but some of our old papers can be shred. So thanks for having me. Thanks for voting me back in for another 2 years, and I'm here for you. And let's just stick together and take care of each other. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Assemblymember, and congratulations.
Thank you.
With that, we will now move to the representative for the Manhattan Borough President, Yiyi.
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So, our elder New Yorkers have built the city we know and love. They have spent lifetime contributing their wisdom, experience, and resilience to shaping the best aspects of Manhattan, shaping New York into the best city in the world. For this, we owe them all a huge debt of gratitude and consideration. So the Manhattan Borough President's Office is proud to release a new senior resource guide to help ensure the New Yorkers can age in place and live independent lives in the community they love. This 50-plus page comprehensive guide is designed to help seniors and their families navigate the many services and programs available across all 12 of Manhattan's community districts, such as senior centers, health and nutrition, transportation, housing, and legal assistance. So please go to our website for more details. Last but not least, for the second year in a row, we are excited to open applications for our Manhattan Future Leaders Fellowship, designed specifically for high school juniors and seniors. Develop your leadership skill, learn about New York City government, and make difference in your community. Apply now and get the chance to present your own policy recommendations. The deadline is December 1st. To apply, please also visit our website. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. With that, we're going to now move to State Senator Liz Krueger's representative, Dana Schmersler.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I'll keep it very short, but Senator Krueger is very happy that the ERA Proposition 1 was passed last night, which she passed into law in 2022. She's also very aligned with Senator Hoyleman Siegel and Assemblymember Rosenthal in what is coming for what Democrats and the Senate Assembly need to do in the state of New York, and especially focus on making sure that congestion pricing is enacted. We are holding several events in the coming weeks. The first is on Medicare Parts A, B, C, and D, which is on Tuesday, November 12th. We are also having a virtual town hall about getting scammed and how to protect yourself, which will be on Thursday, November 14th. And we are having a 4-part housing series. This is an issue that we hear from our constituents about the most, and it'll be on 4 different topics with experts in each field. The first is on how to get your landlord to make repairs and also take them to housing court. The second is what to do if you've fallen behind on your rent and rental arrears. The third is appearing in housing court without a lawyer. And the fourth is about co-op and condo owner rights and resources. And we will have people presenting on these calls from NILAG, the Legal Aid Society, Housing Court Answers, and Take Root Justice. And I will make sure that Janine gets all the information for the events to put in the CB4 newsletter. That's it for me tonight. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Those are important resources. We'll now move to Robin Forrest from the Mayor's Community.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I really don't have a formal report. I wanted to say hello, and I guess we're all dealing with the day after. Very nice to see both Dolores and Brian speak. They're both important community leaders with their precinct council presidencies, and they're a wonderful resource. And also great to see Linda Rosenthal and Brad Hoyleman. If anybody has questions, I'm happy to take them, or you can send them through Jesse to me. And with that, I will close because I know you have a lot to do tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you. All right, with that, those are our electeds for this evening. Tonight we have as you've seen on our agenda, we actually have a report from our nominating committee. And so I'm delighted to invite Alice Wong up. And as she's coming up, I just want to thank the committee, Wendy Gonzalez, Matt Green, Josephine Ishman, Gregory Morris, Tina Nelson, and Rodney Washington for stepping up and participating in this year's committee.
Thank you, Jessica. My name is Alice Wong, and I had the honor this year of being the chair for the nomination committee. I was going to do this already, but Jessica just kind of took my thunder. I wanted to thank the nomination committee. I won't rename all of you, but thank you so much for your time and dedication. I greatly appreciate everything you did. The following board members expressed interest in running for the executive officer position. There is a caveat note that I'm going to read. It was updated in Dropbox. I'm not sure if I had a chance to take a look at it. Running for chair of the board is Jessica. First vice chair is Leslie. Second vice chair is Roberta. Co-secretary is Katie and Candace. Except for Katie, who was unavailable during the scheduled interview time, each of the candidates were interviewed by the nomination committee on October 24, 2024. The nomination committee unanimously voted to recommend all the candidates to be added to the 2025 slates. Today, we will also take nominations from the floor. You may nominate yourself or someone else. You cannot nominate yourself. You can nominate someone else. The person who is being nominated must accept the nomination in order to be on the ballot. And then our election will be held next full board meeting in December. At this moment, are there any nominations for someone else? That sounded so weird. Okay, seeing no additional nominations, thank you very much, everyone, and congratulations to our incoming slate.
Thank you, Alice. With that, we're now going to district manager's report, and I'll turn it over to Jesse.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jesse Bodine, District Manager of Community Board 4. I'll be very quick. The only change for the November committee schedule as of right now is the Arts, Culture, Education, Schools Committee will be meeting on Tuesday, November 19th instead of its normal date. All of the committees will be meeting at their regular time. I did send out a poll, scheduling poll for January full board with two tentative rescheduling dates. Please take a second and fill that out as quickly as possible so then we can decide on that and move forward and find a location. And then I just also want to thank everybody online who are members who filled out the remote participation form in advance of tonight's meeting. And if you haven't, please do so. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jesse. As for my chair report, just a few quick highlights that I wanted to be sure everyone was aware of. Last Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, we had our coat drive. I want to thank Maria Ortiz and all those who volunteered on that day. It was awfully warm, so we didn't have quite as many people join us that day, but we do know that all of the coats were distributed. And in a moment, I'll speak a little bit more about board engagement, but just want to remind everyone, sort of similar, building on something, Jesse's earlier comments in the public session, that the board is an opportunity to facilitate opportunities for us to help our neighbors, help each other. And the coat drive is just one example, and we look forward to continuing to foster those opportunities. I also want to note that a few weeks ago, we had the Pier 97 ribbon cutting. If you have not had a chance to go over, I highly, highly encourage it. The space is gorgeous. And while we have these warm days still lingering, I really encourage everyone to check it out. Additionally, I want to just mention on the Port Authority bus terminal, which I know you guys are probably like, when is this project? When are you going to stop talking about this project? But the city council is holding a hearing this coming Tuesday, November 12th. The board will be providing testimony, emphasizing the need to finalize and agree on the mitigation we have been advocating for. If you are interested, you can tune in online, and the public is invited to participate and even provide testimony. Meanwhile, we're working closely with our council member, Port Authority, and City Council Land Use to negotiate and finalize the points of agreement. So you can expect more on this soon. I also wanted to note that we had a briefing with Related on Western Rail Yards to understand the financial realities which have prompted the proposed changes to Western Rail Yards. And just today, the DEIS for Western Rail Yards modifications was certified by New York City Department of City Planning, and the final scope of work has been issued with 30 days to respond. So this will be, as such, this will be added to the Clinton Hell's Kitchen land use agenda for November. Paul's looking happy and excited, JD less so, but that will be a big next opportunity on that topic. Just very briefly, I think many of you saw the news about Vanderbilt and its proposed lease with the General Theological Seminary on 20th Street. Many people feel very excited about it. We did have an initial briefing together with Clue and ACES, very preliminary. The lease is not finalized. They're still working with the state, but it was very exciting to hear their commitment both to preservation, community engagement, and education. So there was a lot of positive feelings about that, and look forward to bringing them in more. Sorry, for those online, there's some announcement happening here in the hospital. I think we can ignore that. Okay. I briefly alluded to, as was mentioned by Mike Noble and perhaps others, certainly in the public session, the efforts with NYCHA continue to advance. We did, and this will be discussed at committees in the coming weeks and months, but we did have a meeting with electeds in response to our letter that was sent after full board, I believe it was August 1st. And we are beginning to re-engage with NYCHA, the applicant, and our electeds to make sure that all of the issues that we've continued to outline and to continue to request have a place and space for us to grapple with together as a community, including, those who both the Tenants Association and hopefully a broader group of stakeholders. They did indicate that the response to the draft EIS we should expect in Q1 of 2025. So that'll be the next opportunity to really dig in on the proposed plans. But there is also, they've made commitments for, as the senator mentioned, for immediate work to be done on the buildings and for that effort to ensure that the current conditions are addressed, and so that residents can have sinks and toilets where they don't, and have leaks addressed, that plan can begin immediately. There still are a number of questions and a lot of materials to review. We are working to get copies of all those materials, both that NYCHA and Related shared with us and that were presented at the meeting, and we'll make those publicly available as soon as we have them and have a chance to digest them all. Then the discussion will go back to committee. Lastly, I just wanted to mention this broad topic of public engagement, something that came up at Exec, and this is also just a reminder that if you're interested in how to be more involved, Exec is an open public meeting and you are encouraged to attend, and that both motivated by a deep desire by many across this room and those online for more opportunities of engagement, whether that's tree planting, I've heard, or volunteer days or happy hours or things like the coat drive, and recognizing also just the likely imperative that term limits are going to create. We're going to be having more and more discussions about what does it mean to provide opportunities for engagement, to continue to nurture leadership pipelines and healthy engagement of our board. So just a flag and a plug for that, and for hopefully more on that in the coming weeks and months. That is the chair report for this evening. And so now we will turn to committee business. Tonight, we will begin with a presentation from Roberta presenting the statement of district needs, and then we'll move on to our other committees. Roberta.
Good evening. So we do have a PowerPoint or PDF version of a PowerPoint presentation. So we'll go through that. So hi, my name is Roberta Barnett. I'm second vice chair and the chairperson of the budget task force. Every year, community boards put together something called a statement of district needs, and it indicates our funding priorities for the upcoming year on a city level. And why do we do this? Well, firstly, to ask both the agency directly as well as the Office of Management and Budget if they will fund these requests. And then secondly, to tell our elected officials at all levels what our priorities are and how they can fight for us during budget season or when discretionary funds become available. We just heard Assemblymember Rosenthal mention specifically funding that she was putting forward for a Clinton Health or Ryan Health, sorry, this evening. So that's one example of many ways in which our advocacy transcends the traditional role of the budget process. So in the Dropbox, you'll see a priority list alongside a narrative statement. When we adopt these, assuming that we will do that this evening, Jesse, our district manager, puts them into a standardized format, and that is ultimately what gets submitted to the city in order to make our advocacy to the agencies and to have this public living document for those who wish to advocate for our priorities. Well, in that interest, the committees from throughout the board have spent the past 2 months coming up with their budget priorities. The board also conducted a public online survey in order to further gauge our neighbors' thoughts beyond what we have heard within these committees. And then the budget task force met twice in October to put together all of these priorities in the order that we'll vote on this evening. So you'll have the spreadsheet, you'll have the narratives. If you haven't reviewed them, certainly recommend taking the time to do so. We'll provide a brief overview in this presentation. A big thanks to the members who helped put together the budget task force: Christine, Leslie, Jessica, Bert, Maria, Dolores, Katie, and Ella. If this is something you're interested in being involved in the future and that you're not on that list, feel free to let me or Jesse know. Also, special thanks to Paul, Josephine, Matt, Joe, and Carrie for all of your helpful edits to the list, as well as all of the committee chairs who contributed to this. So while this can be a frustrating process to see how long it takes to get items funded, I wanted to flag some of our wins from this past year. This is where we got 2 pages of wins. So first, within the housing and human services world, there was a groundbreaking for the MTA and DEP sites for affordable as well as supportive housing within the district. This has been years in the making. It was also a request for proposal issued for the Chelsea Bayview site, and that was awarded for supportive housing. There was continued funding for English as a second language classes for Herc shelters. Within sanitation, there was funding for the Better Bin pilot program that you'll see throughout the district. And then the citywide required composting program that is going into effect. For schools and libraries, there was additional funding added for security cameras in schools, as well as bathroom renovations in schools. And then there is partial funding and repairs for renovations at the Columbus Branch Library, something that we will continue to advocate for in the coming year. On parks, there was some additional funding allocated for the Penn South Playground renovation, and the Waterfront Parks and Environment Committee will continue to advocate on design there. And then we have a lot of wins on pedestrian and transportation safety. Just to go through a number of them: ADA compliant ramps at key intersections along Dyer Avenue, installation of 30 audible pedestrian signals in the district, islands with permanent concrete structures along 10th and 11th Avenue, a sidewalk capacity study on 9th Avenue that was completed, a repairs and replacements for various damaged subway grates throughout the district, a 10th Avenue bike lane that goes now from 14th to 34th Streets, and then sidewalk widening of 9th Avenue, 30th to 34th Street. And this, very much a testament to the work of members of this board, Jesse, Jessica, and the advocacy of members of the community as well. So sometimes it feels like a slog, and that the things that we do here maybe don't show up in a meaningful way. But I think that our 2024 wins are sort of a testament to the fact that the things that we're doing today do matter and may have an impact in the future. So moving on to the actual statement of district needs. So our top issues for 2026, this is sort of a synthesis of committee discussion, budget task force discussion, and that survey I mentioned earlier is crime and public safety, affordable housing, and then the quality of life environment. We also called out a number of immediate issues in our narrative, including street life conditions that relates to trash. It relates to the crowdedness and chaos on the sidewalks, illegal cannabis shops, and then road safety, which includes both car as well as e-bike and moped related issues. You will also see our very lengthy spreadsheets. I'm just including the top 10 of capital and expense here. The top capital, we have NYCHA, Fulton and Elliott, Chelsea interim repairs, NYCHA, Harborview, elevators and other capital repairs. We have EDCs, Manhattan Cruise Ship Terminal, electrification, shore power, the MTA elevators that were mentioned earlier in this meeting at 23rd and 6th, as well as 8th Avenues. The HVAC replacement at Columbus Library, the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene funding, Ryan Health Center capital requests for an ultrasound, retina view, and then a building rooftop chiller. HPD capital subsidy, both for Hartley House as well as a particular multifamily preservation program and another senior apartment program. And then the Department of Education replacing doors and locks at Lab Middle School, I believe, per the request of the school itself. On expense, our top request was to increase police foot patrols. Our second was to expand homeless outreach, both including existing programs and then the new Be Heard program. This is a program that pairs, I guess, medical personnel with first responders for emergency situations where they can provide helpful interventions to people who are experiencing a mental health crisis. Number 3, we have an increase in headcount for parks enforcement officers. And 4, we have increased enforcement for NYPD traffic. This is cars, bikes, mopeds, etc. We also have after-school program funding. There is also a request to fund increased syringe pickup throughout the district. There is also funding for the expansion of pre-K and 3K seats at various schools in the district. There is another request to expand funding for Ryan Health Center's translation. There is a request to expand Department of Buildings, code enforcement staff in particular, relating to demolitions, as well as implementing City of Yes. And then finally, there is a sidewalk capacity study on 9th Avenue in the 33rd to 51st corridor. So the survey that we put out received 249 responses, and it asked people who live and work in the district to identify top priorities, as well as to give us maybe some ideas for funding. The top issues were public safety, affordable housing, and quality of life, very much things that we saw reflected in discussions within the committees. Some top ideas that came out of that survey, ones that were mentioned multiple times, include increased NYPD foot patrols. This is for individuals who are either unhoused or mentally ill or chemically addicted, increased street cleaning and trash pickup, and then increased enforcement against improper commercial trash disposal. And the slide that I will end with regarding the survey is a visual of people's first, second, and third priority responses. So the blue indicates people's first priority. You see the very strong first priority for crime and public safety. the orange is their second, and the gray is their third. This evening, we'll ask everyone to vote to approve the statement of district needs, which includes the narrative as well as the priority list from the committees. If you have any questions, you can feel free to raise them now. I will also say if you have lexical, grammatical, or wording edits, please send them via email.
Great work. Thank you, Roberta. And thank you again to the committee and to all of the committees who deliberated to put forward the suggestions, which Roberta and the task force then assimilated. It looks like Bert, you're up for BLP, so come on up.
Everybody, I don't want you to be terrified by all that we have before you on BLP. I just want to bring to your attention that the first 4 are ratifications, and that's because they are about the new outdoor seating procedures that have to go to DOT, and there are deadlines. So we had to meet the deadlines, which were before tonight's meeting. And other than that, we see 8 and 9 are tabled for next month. And unless there are any questions, I want to, what's the expression? Bundle them all, except for 8 and 9, which are tabled. And any questions? We have the usual procedure. Our letters all have deny unless the stipulations are met.
Bert, I have a question on 3 and 5, and that's the one, the roadway items. Do we have a policy on roadways? Would you explain what the conditions are? As I understand it, the city has changed the rules and you've got to take down the sheds. Are you looking at the way those roadway facilities are interfering with parking spaces? What's the deal? Thanks.
Okay, we look at what we have, we measure, and we make sure they meet the requirements that are in the procedures. Okay, that parking, I'm not sure if that's really taken into consideration.
This is our responsibility to approve the roadway sheds, and it seems like it's new to me.
This is all new. This is all completely all new procedures beginning this November.
And we have to approve or disapprove. Is it our policy?
And it's previously, go back a few years when it was the Department of Consumer Affairs, they asked us first to comment, then recommendations. Now, makes the recommendations and sends it to us.
Yeah, just a little more detail. So there are very explicit new regulations about what is allowed and what isn't. So one thing we do is make sure that the submitted plans comply with the various siting requirements that's set out in the law. We then, as we do with all BLP matters, get comments from the community and the committee about anything that bothers people beyond what is in the requirements of the law. And on these, there were no public concerns about either of the 2 you mentioned. They comply with the siting regulations, so our recommendation is approval. But again, our sense is that DOT will approve anything as long as it complies with the siting regulations and does not get into other issues such as balancing parking and roadway dining and so forth. That was handled in the legislative phase, and this was where things ended up.
So again, DOT goes first, sends us what they concluded, and we just comment on what they do. It's not initiated by us.
And just a quick question then, they're no longer sheds. These are removable things surrounded.
They're not permanent.
They're no longer permanent.
They cannot be permanent.
that's
They
the
have to
change.
come down in
Right.
the winter. Okay.
Thank you. And now we'll go to Clinton Hell's Kitchen, Paul Devlin, Chair.
Thanks, everybody. We have two agenda items today, basically on the same building. For a little bit of background, in the Special Clinton Preservation District, we have specific zoning that if somebody tries to remove or demolish more than 20% of a building, they're supposed to come to us for a special permit. That's to avoid overall demolition and renovation of the neighborhood without preservation, without community input. We have a building at 435 West 48th Street that originally made an application for something that fell under the 20% categorization, but due to the hard work of JD scaling fences and whatnot, we discovered that the building has actually gone through much more than 20%. In doing some research, we looked and we found that they had gone through a variety of different applications that individually did not add up to 20%, but collectively was the complete demolition and replacement of a building. 100% of the building. So it was a structure, it's gone, steel frame now. So this process of going in and applying 18 different permit requests, and it was death by 1,000 pins. So what our first letter did was to say, you need to stop what you're doing and just end the work. That letter we felt needed to go out right away. So that's the first letter in the Dropbox, and that says stop. And we sent that one out. So that's why it's here for ratification only and didn't come before us for discussion. The second letter goes into much more detail and has a much longer process that we're going to the Department of Building and saying, this is a problem we have in our community. This is an ongoing fight that we've been having since 1973. We've got to solve this problem. So the second letter, item 21, does address that. Since it was put into Dropbox, I do have two friendly amendments that I've received. First is the committee had talked about a discussion about intra-agency communication, which did not make it into the letter that was in Dropbox. So we've added some phrasing to make sure that we have some intra-agency communication. DOB, HPD, obviously all these different agencies need to be talking to one another. The second friendly amendment I got from Kevin Collins was on the bullet that says 435 West 48th Street be placed on a watch list for future job filings. Kevin felt it's important, and JD and I agreed that we add in the language, not just the building. So it would read 435 West 48th Street, its owner and all its affiliated development team would all be put on a watch list. Okay, any questions on the letter? Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. We'll go to, I think Katie's representing ACES this evening as the two co-chairs are not in attendance.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. So this is letter 22. You may recall last year we discussed that there was a rule put into place to that families who were in the HERCs had to leave and had to reapply for housing. Families of asylum seekers had to reapply if they'd been in the HERC for more than 60 days. And what that resulted in was kids being pulled out of their schools, and then they could be put in an entirely new location. And then they would have to find out new busing plans and everything else. And so we objected to that last year. It's still going on. And indeed, now the plan is to expand it and to have this rule, the 60-day rule, apply to families with children or everyone who lives in DHS shelters. But it's primarily, again, targeting recent arrivals seeking asylum. And so this letter points out all of the problems with asking families with children to move and reapply for housing. And it specifically gives details about the schools in our district, how many students in temporary housing are in each of those schools, and the challenges it provides to the schools in our district about trying to find those kids once they've been moved, and also for those families trying to get their the right documents and everything else. And so it's really been very disruptive to the education of the kids. So we're asking for this policy to not go forward. Any questions? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And just to connect some dots, we also heard the Linda Rosenthal mention this in her remarks as well. Christine.
Thank you. So item number 23, Route 9A, with all the emails and the letters, we have been notified that the first meeting will be on November 19. So we have been very successful, even if our letter has not gone out yet. So this is really good. And on item 25, we got a comment from Josephine saying we should have training for all schools, not just public schools. And the answer to that is that the letter was really narrowly responding to a proposal. And obviously we should have training. And I think this is a project we should, partner with ACES on writing some letters with everybody saying, okay, are you doing the training? Why don't we have the training, etc. So without putting it in this letter, we should really have an effort to join. Any question? Oh, yes. Yes, Marty.
Would you check on 23 that the peer numbers are correct? I think they aren't.
Okay, I will. Yes. Brad, can you
Hi,
be
Christine.
unmuted? Yes, Brad.
I'm sure you'll bring it up. I just want to make sure on 9A, we've been asking, and the waterfront board has asked for cruise ship exit strategies of all the people coming down. It's a disaster. I'm sure you'll bring it up. I just want to bring it up again publicly.
Exit. Yeah, we will take all, there was a study and a whole study group, and Leslie was part of that last year, Jessica as well, right? Where we talked about 9A and all the issues. So we'll go back to that study and take out of that all the information that was put together, and probably also make another survey or something like that to make sure we are collecting the information. Okay.
I also think we need to make sure that we talk about future transportation and using our peers for deliveries and drones. And exactly, I don't want to leave that out. Thank you.
We always think about drones. Which.
Thank you, Christine. Joe, are you representing Housing, Health and Human Services this evening? Come on up, or you have the mic there, whatever you prefer. Oh, but I think to be on camera, if you want to be on camera.
This matter regarding Ryan Health Center versus some capital grants from the city of New York. And we are taking this position because in order to get it into our budget request for this year, specifically, it is a sonogram machine. They don't have sonogram equipment at Ryan on 645 10th Avenue and 46th Street, a retina view machine for eye exams, and replacement of the cooling tower. And that's a key one because it's actually not for the building, it's to maintain the equipment at the proper temperature for all the medical equipment in the building. And the last thing is increased support for translation services for asylum seekers.
Thank you. And just to, again, tie some pieces together, we don't put things in the budget request that the committees have not yet reviewed. And so this is why that letter is coming out as it is. Carrie, we'll turn to you for Chelsea Land Use.
Thanks, Jessica. We have one letter, LPC application for 635, 641 6th Avenue that we approve with the condition that signs are not attached to the masonry. And that's it. And thanks Dave Holoka for writing this. And sorry that there are some strikeouts in here. We think that an older version of the letter got into the Dropbox by accident. So that will be corrected. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, future site of the Museum of Math coming to Chelsea. Dolores, come on up. We did strike one of the letters from the Cannabis Task Force as this actual location that you see striked out. They actually opened already, but opened with very different hours or indicated very different hours than they spoke to our task force. So we're going to ask them to come back and figure that out. Letter 29 is 302 8th Avenue, which is 25th and 26th Street. This was originally a card applicant. For those that do not know what that is, that was the original applicants, folks that may have been negatively impacted by the marijuana laws that were in place. This is an applicant who very patiently has been waiting for an opportunity for moving forward, and they finally are going to do that. The letter's pretty straightforward, talks a little bit about their history of being New Yorkers and how they actually show a lot of education internally because of they have experience on the advocacy side around cannabis. And most importantly, we wanted to ensure that they clarified a few things in their application, which I believe Jesse said we received today, all the clarifications. Okay. Most importantly, they confirmed the items that we wanted to confirm in committee, and that is indicated in those stipulations in the letter. Any questions? Wunderbar. Okay, with that, that is the reports from the committees this evening, and we'll be ready to take a roll call vote. So Katie can come on up, and we'll just remind everyone to please fill out your forms on paper or online, and to announce your name with your vote.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I have to. Yeah. So as a quick reminder, I'm going to repeat whatever you say. And so there. Also, just as we recognize that there are quite a few people who aren't here this evening, so I may be calling out people who are not here. Okay, so Ted. Yes to all. Roberta. Yes to all. Christine. Yes to all. Their whole name? Okay, sorry. Gwen. Not here. Leslie. Abstain on 29. Yes to the rest. Viren.
Yes to all.
Yes to all. Liam. Yes to all. Kevin. Yes to all. Lisa, David. Not here. Marty. No on 3 and 5. Yes to the rest. Paul. Yes to all. Pete Diaz. Yes to all. Thomas. Yes to all. This is his second meeting. Congratulations. When not here. Max. P&E on 1. Yes to everything else. Matt Green is not here. Hold on, let me flip the page. Jesse. Yes to all. Candace. Yes to all. David Haluka. Yes to all. Frank. Yes to all. Josephine is not here. Inga. Oh, there you are. Hello. Yes to all. Carrie.
Yes to all.
Yes to all. Ella.
Yes to all.
Yes to all. Raul. Not here. Bert. Yes to all. Chris LeBron. Not here. Rachel. Oh, Rachel not only is yes to all, but she has submitted it. That should be an inspiration to all of us. James. Yes to all. I'm sorry, did you say submitted too? Oh, no. Okay, I'm sorry. Making it up. Betty.
Yes to all.
Yes to all. Sanford. Yes to all. Shanice?
Yes to all.
Thank you. Yes to all. Gregory? Not here. Tina Nelson? Yes to all. Mike Noble?
Yes to all.
Yes to all. JD? Yes to all. Maria's not here. Alan? Yes to all. Brad?
Yes to all.
Yes to all. Joe? Yes to all. Dolores? No on 25. Yes to the rest. Katie Savage?
Yes to all and submitted.
All and submitted. Impressive. Katie Stokes? I am yes to all. Hector? Okay, yes to all. David Warren? Not here. Rodney? Yes to all and submitted. Impressive. And Alice? No to 29, yes to the rest. And then the last person is Jessica. Is yes to all. All right, I think, well done, everyone.
Thank you. Yes, can we get a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Roberta. Second, Leslie. Thank you. I hope everyone gets some rest.